Today marks the 244th birthday of the United States, which is being celebrated with fireworks, possibly a picnic, and gatherings to celebrate the day. This is quite a contrast to last year, as the 243rd birthday was spent in our isolated COVID bubbles. The skies remain relatively quiet, and backyard barbecues were absent. Thankfully, due to modern scientific advancements, so we have an understanding of how germs and viruses are spread and how vaccines work. Those involved in developing a vaccine to battle COVID so that we are able now to celebrate our 244th birthday of freedom with family gatherings and friends and neighbors. Today, freedom really feels like freedom. Freedom from isolation, freedom to leave the house and go for walks or bike rides, freedom just to shop at the grocery store. Freedom. It is a freedom that a deadly virus attempted to steal from us. But thankfully, we've overcome, as we often do when we, the people, stick together in pursuit of a common goal. Combining our efforts to care for each other through mutual respect and care, we preserve the sanctity of every individual, which is precisely why we celebrate the formation of our republic. And not just its birth, we also celebrate that it is still here. Several times, persons or groups have attempted to dismantle or topple our form of government, either by declaring war and bombing Pearl Harbor, attacking U.S. embassies, hacking our defense system and network, or flying planes into the Twin Towers or the Pentagon. We've also experienced domestic threats to our republic. The Oklahoma federal building bombing, packages containing anthrax which were sent through the mail to the homes or offices of elected officials and their aides, insurrectionists who tried to seize the U.S. Capitol to prevent Congress from ratifying the results of a presidential election. This latter one revealed just how fragile our republic really is, and it revealed how easy the foundations of our democracy can lose its footing. It also revealed how easily persons can quickly fall into the delusion that they are fighting for a greater cause, when in reality, they're only serving those who hide in the shadows, waiting for their opportunity to strike the U.S. down while they stir fear and stoke hatred. Yet this is not a new problem. When the United States was in the midst of the Great Depression, there were some who believed our republic needed dismantled, and they sowed great fear that the U.S. would collapse. In his first inaugural address, FDR declared that the only thing they had to fear was fear itself. Once again, the republic lived on. An author declared that his speech revealed the paradox of democracy, that the best way to defend it is to have it attacked. Meaning when it's attacked, we recognize what we could lose, so we strive to save it. Thus, when the U.S. Capitol was infiltrated on January 6th of this year, this event revealed how easily we could be overcome by a domestic or even a foreign power. This event also reminded us how quickly and easily we could lose our republic when persons believe their only solution is to mutiny against members of Congress. This was something George Washington cautioned the newly established country when he delivered the Newburgh Address on March 15, 1783. He declared that we can express our differences of opinions, but to mutiny against Congress would undermine the very fight all of us must remain engaged in, as it is our American duty to defend freedom. Freedom, the most sacred right this country has, and was birthed on this day, the 4th of July. It is this freedom that all of us must recall as we celebrate today, celebrating our flag and the republic for which it stands. Today, on the birth of our nation, we are reminded of the great number of freedoms we have in this country, and we must recall the benefits we receive from our nation's independence. Our republic provides civil liberties, the Bill of Rights, freedom for minorities, the right to dissent without being persecuted. We also have the uniqueness of separation of church and state, so that there are limits established that prevents the government from interfering in our religious matters. And due to these limits, we as Christians recall that we serve and have an allegiance with God's kingdom, and our government can't force us to sacrifice our godly identity or force us to split our allegiance to God. As people who are governed by laws and required to pay taxes, one might think that our system of government would demand a total allegiance. Yet wonderfully, we can be loyal to our government while also devoting ourselves fully to God. The New Testament author, Paul, advises fellow believers to be good citizens, while reminding us that we are citizens of a higher world as well. It is with this higher calling that as Jesus followers, we have a responsibility to say something when our government is doing something wrong. Our higher allegiance to God provides us the authority to speak out, but not uproot the Constitution or mutiny against it when we disagree. Rather, we are provided a voice so we can call our government accountable while recalling the value and worth of our fellow Americans, which, like freedom, is a major principle of our representative democracy. A representative democracy, like Christianity as a whole, values individuals. Abraham Lincoln called our system a government of the people, by the people, for the people, operating on the idea that an individual who can often be the smallest minority has an influential voice in how they are governed and who governs them. Thomas Jefferson wrote that the care of human life and happiness and not their destruction is the first and only legitimate object of good government. Viewing the value of each person is a primary difference between our constitutional republic and other forms of governments. Now, granted, though most governments claim to exist for the good of the people, the political philosophy that developed our current form of government says that the purpose of government is to secure the rights that God endows to individuals, whether those individuals are Americans, foreigners, or even prisoners of war. In 2004, the Supreme Court ruled that war prisoners could not simply be detained without a trial. This ruling reminded us that the United States values all individuals. The second parallel of Christianity and our government is that we also care about equality. Stated boldly in the Declaration of Independence, we believe all persons are created equal. As Christians and as Americans, it is our duty to provide equality, regardless of a person's ancestry or financial situation. All persons are equal. An example of this is provided by Jesus when he told the story of the beggar and the rich man. Jesus did not consider the rich man to have more worth than the beggar. Jesus explained that in God's eyes, we are all worthy of God's love. Yet we recognize from protests that happened last summer that not everyone feels they have the same access to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is especially true among those who identify with other people who are LGBTQ, which is why the month of June exists for why Pride exists in the month of June. It highlights the shortcomings of the legal protection afforded to some, but not all. And Pride encourages us to do better, to strive for more, and to give more as we support our government with these various voices which can serve the people and protect the people. This is an important component of our republic. Like Christianity, the only way it works and thrives is to have responsible citizens who tend to its needs. In the church, we need persons willing to serve on the leadership board and to financially provide time, talent, and treasure for our ministries. The church needs persons who volunteer to support the church, practice their faith, and love their neighbors. A similar thing is a need for our government. Persons need to run for office, vote, work for the common good, and pay their fair share of taxes and care for others. This way we pursue the objective of the Constitution, to pursue freedom, to offer everyone the ability to enjoy life, and to receive the freedom to practice their faith. As good citizens of God's kingdom, and as citizens of this country, let us always strive to thank God for the republic in which we live and for the freedoms that make our country possible. And when we say one nation under God, Let us believe this phrase and do our best to support this country that we love by working together, voting for the changes we want instead of relying on violence. And let us recall that various voices exist, from the supermajority to the smallest minority, because we all enjoy freedom, trusting that this nation will continue forward as our founders envisioned. So let us then strive to support our democracy and strive to be members of God's kingdom as well.